In 2012, Josh Trank made a movie called Chronicle, starred Dane DeHaan, Michael B. Jordan, and it was really good. We could all agree that we really enjoyed it. In 2015, he made a movie called Fat Four Stick, and we could all agree that it was really bad and we didn't enjoy it. Miles Teller actually got into a fight with him during the filming of it, so it was that chaotic. When Julian Bell was asked if he'd want to return as the Thing, he said no. When Toby Kebbell was asked if he wanted to return as Doctor Doom from that movie, he also said no. Because, well, let's face it, that movie kind of soured everybody, and everybody who's in it just wants to move on from it. Then a third movie Josh Trank made called Capone. That's the movie I'll be talking about, and it was to date his last movie, and it should be, for now until all time, his last movie. And it's a sign of anything that Chronicle, as good as it was a fluke. This is the S&W EXPerience Reviews, and I will be reviewing the 2020 Josh Trank directed, Tom Hardy starring film Capone. Normally, there's a non-spoiler reviews, spoiler section and a spoiler section, but I'm not even bothered, man. This movie isn't that great. You shouldn't see it. This movie is a fucking 4 out of 10, and now I'm gonna say why. I have notes written down. Normally when I got notes, I put my own little spin on them, like add more detail and depth to give you what I mean. But this movie is just, it's so bad. It doesn't deserve my added notes, man. I'm just gonna tell you what I wrote. This film cost $20 million and only made back like $800,000. This movie opens with Capone at Thanksgiving explaining his version of the meaning of Thanksgiving before moving to him in his study, and he's pissing himself 10 minutes into the film. Also turns out all this was a prologue, as the opening credits start rolling 15 minutes into the movie. The movie's first 15 minutes and nothing happens except Capone explaining this is what Thanksgiving is, this is why we celebrate Thanksgiving, and then he pisses himself. This isn't a one-off instance either. This happens a lot. This movie is unintentionally funny. There's a scene where Capone goes to the toilets after the power goes out while they're watching Wizard of Oz. There's this scene, like, as he's standing in front of the cinema, singing the song from Wizard of Oz, he's singing, and then the power goes out. And as they're standing in the dark, he's like, and then someone in the back goes, "That's the power." No shit, that's the power, man. No shit, the power went out. What you think that was? Did someone playing with their lights? Shit. Capone goes to the toilet and he pulls back the curtain to reveal there's a dude in the shower, just standing there, mouth agape, staring at him, eye to eye, and Capone's just looking right at him in the dark, with using his lighter as a light, and then he starts pissing on the guy's shoes. The whole time, puffing his cigar, the guy's looking at Capone, he's looking down at his shoes, kept looking back, looking at his shoes, looking at him, like, dick shoes, look at him, dick shoes, look at him. Just like, what the fuck? Is this dude seriously pissing on me? What the fuck? Does he not realize I'm here? Whatever. Supposedly, this is one of the agents that are sent to spy on him to find the money that he supposedly stole. But Capone never mentions seeing a dude in the shower. So we're led to believe that he thought that he was hallucinating this guy and he wasn't actually there when he actually was. But then if he's aware enough to do that, then why doesn't he think the same thing later in the movie when he starts seeing weirder things than people in the fucking shower? I'll get to that. There's a scene where, they call up Matt Dillon because Capone's starting to lose his fucking mind, and he shits himself in bed. He shits himself when he's just sitting around. He pisses himself. Tom Hardy's performance through this is just screams of a man trying his damnedest. But Tom Hardy is not a bad actor. No one in this movie is a bad actor. But this movie makes them all into terrible fucking actors. Just actors can make okay material great. But if you give them shitty material, like, the best they can do is make it less shit. No one can take a really piece of shit script and turn it into Oscar-worthy stuff. Eesh. Anyway, so yeah, Matt Dillon's in this shit show. He's another great actor made to look really shit. Except, no, he's one of the few people who don't come across looking pretty shit. He actually looks pretty good until towards the end, until like his last scene. Then he's kind of shit. He's kind of nonsensical at that point, but yeah. So yeah, there's another scene where Matt Dillon and Capone are sitting discussing The Wizard of Oz, and Matt Dillon says, this guy, he's talking about the lion, is sitting on a gold mine, and the lion says, I want to go back to being king of the forest, get the fuck out of here. I thought that was pretty funny. It's like one funny scene in the whole, actually there's two funny scenes. This movie's not trying to be funny, it's trying to be like a weird, intense horror story, but like that's not what people came to see when they came here. So when they came in, there's also this weird flashback with Louis Armstrong at a party and some guy whose face is all taped up in the basement. Afterwards, there's this shootout where Capone is laying on the ground trying to crawl over this pile of dead bodies to get to a kid who we're led to believe is his younger self because he keeps hallucinating him. So in this shot, you can tell this was made to be a trailer shot because this shot looked great in the trailer. Without any context, this shot looks amazing. But once you put the shot in the film and you have the context for the shot, it makes no sense. Because realistically, he would have stood up by now. Like, if you're being encumbered in any way by these bodies blocking your path and you're finding it hard to crawl over them on floor level, it's not like he's crawling over a mountain. They're just on the ground, laid out. In reality, he would have stood up by now. Just saying. Anyway, but he doesn't. So yeah, he keeps hallucinating his younger self for some reason, and the money that the agents are trying to find. There's this question over whether or not he even has it. Like, so they like grab his shrink and they try to blackmail him into making Capone tell him where the money is. Problem is, Capone has this like form of syphilis. I think he also has like, what's this, dementia or Alzheimer's, because his memory's gone to shit. He's misremembering people that are there every day. And it doesn't help that the environment around him is changing because they have to sell off all of his statues and artworks and everything because families low on money. So yeah, there's a lot in this movie that doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, he says in the film that, yeah, I stole a bunch of money and I hid it away, but I don't remember where. But then the movie sets, man, I'm not even gonna bother with that, just moving on. Matt Dillon's character isn't real. Yeah, the character I mentioned, he's supposed to be Al Capone's friend. He was called here to somehow help Al Capone because Al Capone doesn't remember the people sitting around him. Maybe a friendly face would help. The friendly face that we see him get a phone call to come see Al. Yeah, he's not real. Nothing he's done up until now has been real. He's totally imaginary. Turns out, that the guy who was in the basement with his face all taped up, the guy who got killed, that was him. The guy we've been seeing all this time is just a figment of dude's imagination. And he ends up cutting his eyes out and giving them to Capone, saying he knows where the money is and he has to use these to see them. Like, it's this horrible scene that comes out of fucking nowhere. Jesus, what is this, man? Like, this movie just veers into a fucking horror show. For out of nowhere, without warning, and it's just like you got dude cutting his fucking eyes out and giving them to somebody like they're grapes. Like, earlier I mentioned if dude could think, oh, this dude in the shower must not be real. Surely that the man who cutting his fucking eyes out and giving them to you isn't real either. Why are you freaking the fuck? I understand it's a scary sight, but why aren't you thinking, wait, this can't be real? Why is this, a dude cutting his eyes out, real, but a dude standing in the shower trying to tap the phone line or whatever, less real than this shit? But you're aware that people are trying to spy on you because earlier in the movie, you're like, they're watching us, and you point off into the fucking woods where they actually are watching you. Like, Is he aware or isn't he? Is he faking it or isn't he? Does he know where the money is or doesn't he? Like, shit. I even wrote that down. I remember writing that shit down. It says, do they ever find the money? No. Does he actually have dementia? No. Is he actually being watched? Yes, but it doesn't matter. As David said at the end, does it matter? No. Did any of this matter? No. Just, this movie was a total waste because none of the, literally one plot point gets resolved. One fucking plot point of the many that this movie raised gets resolved. You know, does the dementia get any better? No. In fact, he goes on a rampage and shoots a bunch of people, shoots up the house, and causes a fuck ton of damage. And after that, the movie just decides, okay, enough of this shit. We need to wrap up now. So, yeah. That's it. The movie just wraps up just like it did in the beginning. At a Thanksgiving, everyone's saying what they're thankful for. And there was a touching moment with a little girl who asked what's the meaning of Thanksgiving was and didn't have anything to be thankful for. Said that she was thankful for her, like, was it Grandpa Fonz? Uncle Fonz? But she was thankful for Capone. And everybody was like, aww. And then the camera pans to Al Capone, who visibly has no clue what's going on. And his wife has to nudge him and be like, let's eat. So that he'll tell everybody, let's eat. Yeah, shit. Because, fuck, dude, this is a touching moment ruined by, like, the fact that the dude that Jadwiga was thankful for has no idea what she's talking about. He's just there. The one plotline that they wrapped up was that dude had a long-lost son who called him every now and then. And, there was a scene where apparently he was being forced to call Al by the FBI that was investigating him, but they never went back to that. Like, is the FBI still watching him? I don't know. Did they give up? I don't know. Is this part of some scheme to catch him with the money? I don't know. You know, this movie wastes your time. It just treads water, raising questions without giving any reasonable answers. And then just ends. When a movie just ends, that is not an ending. That's just you ran out of budget, or you ran out of time, or you just stopped. You have to have an ending. Not only that, but it has to be satisfying. You wrapped up one plot line. That is not a satisfying ending. Just, it's an ending. Let's get the fuck out of here. This movie's pissing me off. I give this a 4 out of 10. This movie's ass. I do not recommend it. Do not watch. Ignore it. Leave it alone. If you, next time you binge all the movies Tom Hardy's been in, give this a skip. Alright? Shit. Josh Trank has nobody to blame for this one, man. This movie was dog shit. And there's nobody to blame but himself. He was the writer and the director of this. So there's no studio interference, no nothing, no uncooperative actors, no delays, nothing. He's just a shit director. And now he has no choice but to admit it. Jesus. Well, anyway, that's that. That's my rant on the fucking Capone movie. This has been the S&W EXPerience Reviews. I have been a Shogun. And, yeah, goodbye. But there's one thing. There's this one scene, the one scene in this movie that I think is actually pretty good. It's the scene when Al Capone is telling his friend about the money. They're out fishing when this happens, and then a fish grabs on his line, and he's like, hey, I got one. He like reels it in, but as he's reeling it in, a freaking crocodile jumps up and snatches away at the fish, and like the fishing pole goes in the water, and like Matt Dillon's character is like sitting there like, whoa, what the? Al Capone gets all mad and is like, that was mine. Then he grabs a shotgun and he shoots the fucking thing dead. That's pretty funny, but the funny part is when Matt Dillon grabs the rifle out of his hands and it's like, what the fuck are you doing, man? You really did go back to prison over a fucking swamp animal? This is what happens when people move to Florida. They become fucking hillbillies. That was one bright spot. This movie isn't total dog shit. It's just 99.9% dog shit with one little, corn cob kernel in there. That's all.
I'll make it look like I'm losing. Won't bother hiding my bruises. And when they finally think you're wounded, then it's your chance to be